Ooh, there's already a bit of sunshine on the lawn. And look at this weather. Isn't that crazy? It's the Easter weekend and we've got super blue sky. Sun pure. So we have to get ready and prepared because I want to do some solar testing. We want to do some S.P.A.T calibration today. Yeah, as you can see, there's nothing installed at the pool fence at the moment. I've just taken it down a couple of weeks, months ago. But now the time has come that I need to install more solar because we are going into winter. The shading is getting more and more here on the solar panels. So we need to increase our production a little bit, which I always do with some installation of solar panels here against the pool fence, because this is purely north facing. North, north towards the sun. We are upside down here. Everything is the other way around. The sun is in the north. There's nothing in the south. And I have quite some few solar panels here in stock. So these were the ones we had last year installed. The Australian bush monkeys again. I can see them there. These bush monkeys always laughing about me when I do solar projects. So these were the ones we had installed last year. 6 of them against the fence. 2 strings in parallel and then connected to the pool fence system to the PowerWall 2.0. Yeah. To be honest, these panels were actually not great anymore. They have quite a bit of degradation. So these panels have 250 watts, as you can see there. And I had 6 of them, so that makes 1.5 kilowatt peak. Yeah, best conditions, optimal orientation, best S.P.A.T calibration, 1.5 kilowatt. What I got here on the pool fence was around 800, 900 watts, sometimes 1 kilowatt. So these are quite a bit degraded. And here we've got the Canadian Solar, Chinese company, 220 watts. These were the ones which were originally installed here on the off-grid garage before we got the big system. And when they were installed, I discovered that one had a burn mark. Yeah, it burned through the insulation of the panel already. And I've done more testing with this panel here actually. And I've used it for, well, basically since we installed the big system here on the roof, I used this one panel here to charge my 12-volt batteries and everything. And it still works great. Even with this burn mark. There's no issue with it. It still works. All right, and then we've got the BYD. No, it's the BLD Solar, another Chinese company. Well, actually, they're all coming from China anyway. So this is a 250 watt panel as well. And I think these ones here were actually pretty good. These were installed here on the garage west roof as well. And they had actually a pretty good output still. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them here as well. So I think we will go with these ones this year. And then we've got the Sharp, which is actually, I think it's Japanese. These had 215 watt modules. And I think we've got 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But these ones are fairly heavy actually. They've got this crossbeam here as well. And we had these ones installed on the garage as well. Yeah, and then this other stack here is some broken panels which have problems with the distribution box here, with the connection box. But these are the original Suntech from my house roof actually, 190 watts only. See, I've measured this panel here with 4.5 amps actually, and the maximum current is 5.2 amps. So just a bit of degradation, but they are probably like 15 years old. Maybe 16, 17 years old. So still getting us good amps. Yeah, and yesterday I actually talked to my wife and said, well, can we install 3 or 4 panels here permanently on the pool fence system? Have the panels clamped and installed in a fixed way on the pool fence. And she made a very good argument actually and said, well, why would you install them if we go off-grid in 2 years' time anyway? So it will be only this winter and next winter, and afterwards we are off-grid anyway, and then we have enough solar. Because we are going to connect the house roof solar, yeah, the big 5 kilowatt system, which is feeding into the grid and connected and supplying power to the house at the moment. We connect this one to the battery here inside the garage as well. then we've got a bit more energy than now. Because 5-6 days ago I made a new dashboard for my Home Assistant, and it shows some very, very interesting and fascinating data. I'll show you later as well. So what I want to do this morning is grab one of each panel and put this in the sun here, use this S.P.A.T calibration method, align it perfectly, and then we measure the power output of each of these panels and see which one has actually the least degradation of these very different panels here. So I think the BLD are the best ones still, but I may be wrong. And we can do this very, very easily with the, this one here. The Elejoy, I call it Elejoy, the EY800W solar panel multimeter. This is a solar panel tester, and that's how it looks like. It comes with all kinds of connection cables here, crocodile clamps or MC4 connectors. Connect directly to a panel. You press a button and it measures the maximum power output in the MPPT fully automatically. So great devices. They're around $80, $100 if you don't have tariffs. And I link this one down below under the video. So we want to use a freshly calibrated S.P.A.T tool and put this on the solar panel and see how the shadow actually runs. And then make little adjustments to the panel so it is in optimal. Needs to be a bit down and a bit more this way. Okay. Oh, perfect. See, there's no shadow of the can anymore. So the sunlight actually comes in 90-degree angle onto the panel. Perfect. So now we just connect the solar panel directly to the tester. And by doing this, it also turns on. We've got backlight. Click on the Auto MPPT and it should give us all the information. Testing complete. 217 watts. That's actually not too bad for a 250 watt panel. So we have a voltage in the maximum power point of close to 27 volts and a current in the maximum power point of 8 amps. It's testing again. There we go, same result, 215.5 watts. So the panel is sitting here for probably 5 minutes in the sun now, and it's of course slowly heating up, and then the power output goes down a little bit. But this is actually not too bad. Okay, let's try one of the other panels. So this is now the BYD panel. I call it BYD. Oh, this is almost perfect. Nice. Obviously this panel is now ice cold from the carport, so we may have a bit more of an advantage here. We've got 36 volts, open circuit voltage at the moment. It's testing. And we are getting, what? 90 watts only. 90 watts. Okay, let's test again. We're getting only 90 watts. This is a faulty panel here. What voltage do we have? 25.5 volts in the maximum power point. Does it say here on the label? Voltage at P max 30.39. So why do we see only 90 watts? I had very big hopes on these BYD panels. Nah, 90 watts. Okay, let's try another one of these and see if they are all down to 90 watts only. Wow. So this is the second BYD panel. Connected Auto MPPT 36.3, open circuit voltage. Testing. 118 watts only. This is half of what they should do. Wow, they have a lot of degradation. Well, I can't use them anymore. That is useless. Ah, what a shame. So we are testing now the Canadian Solar. This is the one with the burn hole. Yeah, I think so far this panel performed well, at least for charging 12-volt batteries. 35 volts, open circuit voltage, 196.5 watts. That's really good for a 220 watt panel, right? Yeah, this is actually performing well better than the Reni Solar we have tested first with 250 watts and 215, whatever it was, output. But for a panel with a burn mark, not bad. So, and just as a comparison, this is another Canadian Solar without a burn mark. 36.1 volt open circuit. Testing. 183 watts. This is actually a bit less than the one with the burn mark. It's crazy. Still, they're performing really well. I mean, look at this. They've got cracked laminate here. You can feel the crack here in the lamination on the back. So there will be moisture going inside the panels if they are outside. And this will only get worse over time. But they're still performing okay, right? Crazy. So the next and last one is the Sharp panel with 215 watts. I've got 35.3 open circuit voltage. Doing the MPPT testing. We have 137.5 watts only. So they seem to have a bit of degradation as well. At 24 volts, 5 amps. Yeah, 137 watts. So they are not great either. It's hard to imagine that I had all these panels on top of my garage, you know, and I got barely 2.5 kilowatts from all these panels. There's no wonder why. Look at the degradation here. That is crazy. Yeah, so after testing all these panels, I think we go with the Reni Solar 250 watt panels again, same as last year. The Canadian Solar with 220 watts rated output are not performing bad either, with close to 190 watts. Even they are considerably damaged here with the laminate and the burn mark with this one panel. The output is still outstanding. I'm super disappointed with the BLD solar panels here. I thought from memory they are working very well and they have a very high output, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah, and these Sharp panels here, they show a bit of degradation as well, outputting only 100 and whatever it says here on the screen, I've forgotten already, out of 215 watts maximum. So showing quite a bit of degradation here as well. So Reni Solar it will be. Okay, so I have now cabled everything. 3 panels are in series. These 3 panels are in series. And then this string is in parallel to this string. And this is all connected through our underground cable back to the garage, going into the pool fence system MPPT. When I connected the first string, I went actually back into the garage and measured that I have the right polarity and have connected everything correctly, because I have these Y cables, these splitter cables in between here. And it is always a bit confusing where the positive actually is of this one string, and then you connect another string but with a negative, you know, because these MC4 connectors, they are really weird made. Depends if you look from the source or from the load, they have different connectors. Yeah, one is male, one is female, but both of them are positive. And I also had to swap these 2 panels here because this negative, yeah, it's the negative coming from the solar panel, is actually too short to reach the splitter cable down here, and these ones have longer cables here. I think the electrician just cut the cable when they disassembled the whole system here at someone's house. So this is a bit short, but now everything is fine. All right, let's go inside the garage and measure. See what we get. So this is how it looks like at the moment. This is one string, these 3, and this is the second string, both in parallel, as I said. And this one is still shaded from this palm tree here. Sun is still fairly high up. Could be actually this tree here where the shading is coming from, but we can see this one palm tree shadow there. And there's not much shadow on these 3 panels. There's a bit up here, but these 2 are in full sunshine. So we should get some 121 watts or so. Okay, there is our pool fence MPPT, exactly, yes. So let's have a look. Here it is. It shows a 52 volt battery voltage. This is one of the Gopelpower batteries here turned on, the one at the top. We go into the controller. I've already checked the polarity, so that is all good and working. And the only thing we need to do is turn on the circuit breaker to the outside world. And then we should see some solar voltage here of 100 volts. And it immediately starts tracking and producing power. 26, 50, 88, 100, 100, 200, 400, 400 watts. Huh? And it goes down, it's tracking the power point. You can see down here 7.8 amps into the battery. 6-7 amps still tracking. It's around 430, huh? That would be it. Wow, it's going really up and down a lot until it finds this power point. 8.4 amps, 8.8, 8.7, 450 watts from a 1.5 kilowatt system, right? With a bit of shading, of course. It's not too bad. It's 6, 7, almost 8 amps, 428 amps. All right, I think that's what we get at the moment. So yeah, I guess in the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes, the sun will come further this way and the shadow will move over there. We'll have pure sunshine in this location here for a couple of hours until this shadow there comes across again. Well, this will take quite a while. This is in the afternoon. 200 watts of each of the panels, so 1.2 kilowatt effectively. So if we get 900 to a kilowatt of power, that's all we can expect, and that's fine. So I've now turned on all 4 batteries. Obviously they are sharing the current now. This is the whole group. 3.7 amps only. What's going on here? Oh yeah, we've got only 450 watts from the whole array. 5.5 amps. So these amps should actually match what we see here on the display roughly. Is that correct? I see here 3.2 amps and the MPPT shows me 5 amps. What's going on? 260 watts only. It's getting worse. Okay, let's turn off these BMSs again. So I turned off all the BMSs but one again, and the current going into this one battery was actually the same as on the MPPT here, yeah. But when I turned on the second BMS, the current showing here on the display went already down, so there was actually a difference. And now you can see actually 6.3 coming from the solar and 5 amps only going into the batteries here, yeah. But this is not showing the exact current going into the battery. This is showing a sum of all currents reported by the BMSs here. And because they are in parallel and weren't turned on for a while, I think there is a balance going on between these batteries here, and the current is just eliminating. You know, one is taking 2 amps, the other one is giving 2 amps, but in sum they're reporting 0 to the master. See there again, 6.7, 8 amps. Let's see how much we can actually measure here. Yeah, 8.5 amps, so it's the same as in the MPPT, of course. But the BMSs are not 4.3, 7.8. Look at this. That is crazy. And I'm not even sure if I've calibrated the currents of all these BMSs here correctly. But you know, I'm getting older every day, so I forget things. Maybe we have to recalibrate all these BMSs here again. And you would probably think that having 2 strings in parallel, one is in full sun, one is shaded, it would be more efficient to turn off this one which is shaded, you know, and use only the one which is in full sun and producing maximum power, because some of the power will go into this string here which is shaded. This is what people always think, but we have debunked this myth already 3 years ago when we installed the 5 strings here on the garage. Yeah, and in wintertime some of them are always in shade for probably 2 or 3 months. They never see this full sun, and they are still producing energy and contributing to what the other panels in full sun produce. Of the whole 100% of power generation here, Probably 90% is coming from this string and only 10% is coming from this string because of the shading. But yeah, even the strings in shade produce power and contribute to the total power output of your array. And none of these 5 strings here on the roof have actually any blocking diodes or something installed, because it is not necessary. There's no current going from one string into another string. This only happens if you have a faulty panel and you have a lower voltage in one string. Then you have current going from one string into another, but you will clearly see this in the power output of the whole array then. Alright, so we are making 660 watts already, 12.4 amps into the power, into the Gopelpower. That is beautiful. So my friends, the whole purpose of this solar and battery system is here to go fully off-grid in 2027. Yeah, as I said before, we've got another 2 winters, this one right now and the one next year in 26, and winter 27 we will be already completely off-grid. But at the moment we've got this kind of hybrid system. No, it's not a hybrid system because it's not connected to each other. We've got this off-grid system here which supplies power to most of the bigger loads like hot water, pool pumps, EV charging, garage. This is all coming from the off-grid system. And then we've got the smaller 5 kilowatt peak system on the house, which is supplying power to the house and excess is being exported to the grid. Because at the moment I'm still getting like 50 cents per kilowatt hour. I am exporting to the grid. And this is a feed-in contract here running out mid of 2027, so another 2 years. And then the plan is actually to connect this solar system on top of the house here to the garage as well. Yeah, so this solar system is feeding into the house system. The house is connected to the grid, and then the house will be connected to this off-grid system here as well. And this solar system is then feeding power through the multi-plus into our battery system. And we can charge the vehicles directly from it, make hot water and all this kind of stuff. So we will get an additional 5 kilowatt peak in a quite good location actually. Even the house roof is east-west facing. As you can see now, we've got full sun on this roof there. There's no shading, nothing, even now in wintertime not. And it's producing between 15 and 20 kilowatt hours at the moment, which it's exporting to the grid. And additional 15 to 20 kilowatt hours a day would help me out a lot in here, a lot. So as you know and have seen many times before, this is the off-grid garage being displayed in the Victron VRM. You can have a look at it. It is linked down below and it gives you a good overview over the off-grid system here. We've got our battery down here on 16.5% at the moment. We've got a DC load connected to a second inverter, 550 watts. We've got the multi-plus running here producing 370 watts. We've got 3.8 kilowatt coming from all the MPPTs here on the garage. This is a 14.4 kilowatt peak system, 3.8 at the moment. And we also have the tilt system, which are 4 510 watt solar panels connected to microinverters, which are feeding power into our system here as well. And I can use the AC directly. Yeah, this system is producing 1.2 kilowatt AC, but I'm using only 370 watts of AC. So roughly 900 watts are going into the battery at the moment. And you can always see this here. There, it says bulk. So it gets actually energy now from the micro inverters and feeds this back into the battery. It's not a super efficient way of doing it because the panels have DC, then you convert them through the micro inverters to AC. It comes over to the garage and then from AC it goes back into DC to charge the 48 volt system. But most of the time this is the only way you can actually connect solar panels to your battery because of the sheer distance you have. There would have been no way to install any DC connection between the battery here in the garage and the solar panels on top of the house. So the AC solution was the only correct way of doing it. So at the moment we are producing 5.3 kilowatts with both systems and roughly 4.5 are going into the battery shelf. So if you click on show details, it gives you actually more details about the whole system with voltages and everything. You can see the load overnight. Then here in the morning we reached 6.1% just before the sun came back and started recharging the battery shelf. And if you have a look at the full day from yesterday, for example, we can see the whole system has produced 23 kilowatt hours, but I have used 23.7 kilowatt hours. Yeah, so I've used more energy than I've produced, which is not great. That is not sustainable, especially not over a whole winter period, which is about 3 months here, April, May, June. But now we've got mid to end of April and solar production is dwindling while energy consumption is actually rising. Yeah. The time you spend in a hot shower now definitely increases already. And of course, this reflects here on the energy consumption as well. So, and the big question is now, how much energy is actually missing over a whole period like the winter time, for example, here in the off-grid garage? How much additional solar do I actually need to make it over winter? Yeah, I certainly have enough batteries to cope for probably 3-4 weeks or so. But people always say, Andy, you've got all these batteries here, but you haven't got enough solar for that. So do I actually need more solar or do I need more batteries to get over winter? And you can potentially use the Victron VRM here, which gives you some sort of information and data about it. But in my situation, it is not accurate because it doesn't factor in the solar system on top of the house, which is feeding into the grid only at the moment. But in 2 years' time, we will have this connected here to the off-grid garage as well. So there will be additional solar coming into the system here. But is this enough actually to get over winter? And this is a summary here of the whole month for the off-grid system. 422 kilowatt hours consumed and 428 kilowatt hours produced. And obviously I cannot consume more energy than I produce in an off-grid system because there's no additional power coming in from anywhere. But if you have a fairly large battery bank, you can live of this battery bank for quite a while. If you use only a small portion of this battery bank every single day, you can actually extend this to 4 weeks plus easily. But unfortunately, the winter here is not over in 4 weeks' time, and we see an increase in solar production again. So I would need a lot more batteries filled up in summertime to make it actually over winter. But we will get to this once the battery room is finalized and we connect more batteries to the system here. While the Victron VRM is great and gives you a ton of information, you can really do a deep dive into your data, how much you have used from the batteries, how much you have used from the solar, how much you have used directly from the solar into your load. This all can be nicely graphed here in the Victron VRM. And yes, of course, I can log into the Fronius system on my grid-connected solar and get all the information out there. You've got information here, you've got information in this system, but they are somehow not compatible. But because all these information are coming together here in Home Assistant, I have actually made an additional dashboard to the overall goal of having both systems combined at one stage. Yeah, the grid-connected solar, which is then not grid-connected anymore, feeds as well into the battery system, into the off-grid system here as well. Where is all the energy I'm using here on the property coming from? Yeah, some of the energy is coming from the off-grid system, some of them is coming from the grid, some of them is coming from solar directly. The MultiPlus so far supplied 1.6 kilowatt hours to the property. The Phoenix inverter, which is our generator, I can fire this up if I need more power, which hasn't happened today, 0 kilowatt hours. The garage inverter, this is the one where I supply power to the house when we have the dishwasher running this morning and the washing machine. It's called the garage inverter, but it's actually supplying power to single appliances inside the house. This was all 3.4 kilowatt hours already today. So, and the micro inverter, the pool, the tilt system on top of the house, which feeds into the system here as well, is actually a bit tricky because some of the energy is going actually into the battery and only a portion of it is being used directly. So I had to do some mathematical acrobatic stuff here in Home Assistant to actually extract this information. And what we can see here is only what is being used directly by the pool inverter system, by the micro inverter. Yeah, of course it has produced more than 0.7 kilowatt hours today, but the rest was going into the battery. So this is not a consumption, this is what we keep for later. So 0.7 kilowatt hours only came from the pool from the tilt system and being used directly. Yeah, and then of course we have used a bit from the grid as well. And if you remember the last time when the S.P.A.T was here, they actually separated the grid connected solar on top of the house to run on L3, on the third phase basically, and only exporting this energy, while the house is connected to the second phase L2, and I've still got a connection here L1 for the garage. So in only L1 and L2 are actually what I'm consuming from the grid. L3 is export only, there's nothing else connected. Of course the meter is averaging this all out, so it doesn't really matter if you push 5 kilowatt into one phase and take 5 kilowatt from the other phase. The smart meter would report 0 kilowatt to your operator. But yeah, this is all the consumption I have. Basically, these are all the sources where power is coming from, grid, different inverters, and all in total I have used up to right now, today, 7.4 kilowatt hours. Yeah. All right. So next section is what is being produced by the off-grid system. Yeah. This is all the MPPTs here from the big shed, garage, east roof, west roof, and the carport. These are all the 4 MPPTs we have. So they have produced 7.3 kilowatt hours. But there's also the pool tilt system, yeah? This is the microinverter, which has also produced 2.7 kilowatt hours, which is great. This is additional energy for the off-grid system. So all in total, we have produced 10.1 kilowatt hour already with this system and the tilt system, and have used only 7.4 on the whole property. So perfect. And down here we can see we've got an excess of 2.7 kilowatt hours more produced than I have used. But the downside is, of course, the sun is going down at 5:30 now, and there will be no production, but we are still consuming energy. So the consumption actually keeps rising over the day. The production will stop at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So we need to be in plus and store this energy in the battery to make it over the dark side of the day, basically. Yeah. So this is the second section, production of the off-grid system. Then here in a third one, I was looking at the total production of solar energy, not only looking at the off-grid system and the tilt system, but also what is coming from the house, which is currently being fed into the grid. Yeah, we have to look at this as well, because 2027, just around the corner, we will connect this system as well here to the battery, and we can use this energy during the day as well. Yeah. So again, here we've got the MPPTs, we've got the tilt system, and we've got the grid connected solar system, which has produced already another 9.2 kilowatt hours. So all in total, MPPTs, tilt system, grid connected solar, 19.6 kilowatt hours. And I've used only 7.3 kilowatt hours. Yay! Lots of energy. Seems to be quite good, right? So this makes a surplus, or an energy balance as I call it here, of 12.3 kilowatt hours, which we have stored, which we would have stored in the batteries already. Yep, we don't at the moment because the grid connected solar is not connected to the system. So this third section here is a bit of a future glimpse. What can we expect once we do that? So, and then I created this Apex chart here. It was a bit tricky to do, and this basically shows us the energy excess of the off-grid system. Yeah. So today we have 3 kilowatt hours of excess. Yeah, this is this bar here, 3 kilowatt hours. But the day is not over. This is a snapshot for 12:15 now. While the 5 days before, the calculation for these days is obviously finished. And you can see here, we made a negative of around 5 kilowatt hours. Yeah, day before, slight surplus, 2 kilowatt hours. Day before, 0.8 kilowatt hours negative. We used more energy than we actually produced with the off-grid system. The day before that, positive 3.1 kilowatt hours, made more than we used. The day before that, 3.7 kilowatt hours, made more than we consumed. So this is only off-grid, yeah? Then we can have a look in the future once we connect the grid-connected solar as well. How would that look like? Yeah, this is the blue bar here now. This is the excess energy for the same time period, but with the grid connected solar connected here to the battery. So in today we can already see here 3.2 kilowatt hours to 12.4 we would have gotten with the other system connected. Yesterday With the off-grid system, it was negative, negative 5 kilowatt hours. If we would have the energy from the grid-connected system, we would have made a plus of 12.8 kilowatt hours. Heaps of energy, right? Heaps. The day before, we would have made 18.3 kilowatt hours plus. That is more than charging a full 280 ampere hour battery. The 16S 280 ampere hour battery fully charged as an addition to what I have used that day. So I could have saved this energy in a battery and use it on a day where the sun is not shining, where the solar production is down. I mean, that's why we do solar and battery stuff. Yeah, the day before we had slight negative values here with the off-grid system. So at that day, the off-grid system didn't produce enough energy, but including the grid-connected solar, a surplus of over 10 kilowatt hours, And the day before as well, plus 15 and plus 16.8 kilowatt hours. And looking at this graph here, you can say, well, you had only 2 days where the off-grid system was not strong enough to supply enough power for all your needs. This is when these orange bars go into negative. But we also don't have to forget that we have used 1.6 kilowatt hours from the grid, which we cannot use when we are off-grid. There's no grid anymore. So these 1.6 kilowatt hours need to come from somewhere as well. And this is only for today. Let's have a look what was happening for the last 7 days. So here you can see the grid consumption of the last 7 days. 2 kilowatt hours used, 2.9 kilowatt hours used, 0.5 kilowatt hours, 1.3, 0.3, 0, 0.8, 1 kilowatt hour, 6.5 kilowatt hours yesterday charging the vehicle. So there is quite a bit of energy coming from the grid at the moment still. And we can probably go into the energy dashboard here of Home Assistant because this is my grid connected system. And we select this month, for example, So this month alone, we had a grid consumption of 91.5 kilowatt hours plus 1.5 plus 22, 110, 115 kilowatt hours still coming from the grid this month. All this energy needs to come from the off-grid system at some stage. And here we can also see I have returned 227 kilowatt hours. And all in total, I have returned more than I have imported. 111 kilowatt hours surplus. Okay, let's go back in time to last year, April. There we go. We have still a surplus of 382 kilowatt hours. So I produced far more than I have used from the grid. May, still a surplus of 166 kilowatt hours I've exported to the grid. June, worst month here. Shortest day on the 21st of June, I think. Usually lowest production. I still made a bit of surplus of energy of 22 kilowatt hours over the whole month. Exported 325, imported 230, plus 47, plus 25. July last year was actually really bad because I didn't produce as much energy as I have used from the grid. So 55 kilowatt hours were missing. These are 3 full-size batteries here, 280 ampere hours. That was missing over a whole month. 3 additional batteries to get over a whole month. Because on average, I'm using a little bit of these batteries every single day. Just 1 to 2 kilowatt hours each day. And this makes then 55 kilowatt hours at the end of the month. August was already better, a lot better. I made a surplus of 214 kilowatt hours. So I could fully recharge these batteries, which I have used the month before, already in August. So these dashboards and the graph here gives us a bit of a glimpse in the future, what we can expect once this is all connected to one big system. But it also shows me that I need a lot of batteries. Because every day is not like today and we have full sunshine and the system on the house roof is actually producing a lot of energy. Now, as we have just seen a few weeks ago with the tropical cyclone hitting us here, there was 1.5 to 2 weeks of thick cloud weather and there was not much going on with solar production. And thank God I had most of the batteries here charged up to get me over this period. And also we have used more energy from the grid, of course, which we cannot do anymore in 2027 then. So this is the big challenge, to get enough capacity into this battery room here to get me over these months And I think my wife is absolutely spot on when she says, well, it is only for 2 more winters and then we don't need the pool fan system anymore. So we can get rid of these ugly panels there sitting at the pool fans. Well, I think they are beautiful. Because I was really thinking of getting a permanent installation on this pool fan system somewhere with 3 or 4 panels, and we can use this throughout the year, but of course mostly in winter time then. But she's absolutely right, we don't need it once everything is connected here to one big solar battery system. And here with the S.P.A.T calibration center, which is connected to the pool fans now, we are only producing 756 watts here. I wonder what's going on. So, and it is now 927 watts. Nice. Alright, my friends, so far this video from today setting up our winter solar production system situation here. Just temporary over the weekend, of course. And talking a bit about the future of the off-grid system, including the on-grid system, which will all be off-grid system anyway, eventually. But it's quite fascinating to look at the Victron VRM and the Home Assistant data and see how much energy we actually use and how much we are producing and where it is coming from. And all this combined with all these batteries connected here, it will actually work quite well, I think. But at the moment it is just a theory. Looking at the numbers, it makes sense. But if this is really the case, we don't know until we try it and test it and measure it and share it here on the channel. And guys, thank you so much for 107,964 subscribers. Welcome to all the new viewers. Welcome to all the existing viewers. Thank you very much for sticking with me here. Some viewers are watching my channels here since the days of the Outlander PHEV I've started my YouTube journey with. So thank you very much for sticking around, and also thank you very much to everyone who is donating to the channel, becoming a channel member, buying me a coffee or a beer or something, so I can calibrate a S.P.A.T and use it to line up these panels correctly, right? Otherwise we would have made wrong assumptions, wrong measurements, wouldn't be able to optimally align these solar panels to the sun. So thank you very much for all your S.P.A.T donations. And until the next video, guys, when we do something different again, I guess, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye bye. Here, 960 watts. Beautiful. Made 1.3 kilowatt hours today.